Today we're going to have Becky Sherwood on the podcast, and she's been a paralegal for almost 3 decades. And we're going to learn a little bit about what it takes to be a great paralegal, not a good one, a great one. What it means to her to be from Arizona, have a little grit, and being from a little town called Taylor, just east of Belly Button. We're in studio here with Becky Sherwood, and let's get casting. Becky's been with us, the Arizona firm, since 07, 06?
07, 08, somewhere around there.
Long time.
Lucky girl.
Well, we've been lucky. Tell me about who you are, where you come from, so let's break it down that way. Oh, I know. It's going to be fun.
Who I am, where I come from. I
Yeah.
come from the White Mountains, little
Okay.
town in the White Mountains called Taylor. So
Taylor?
I grew
Not
up there.
Snowflake. You draw that line.
There's definitely a distinction. These two towns are still in rivalry, and I'm a Taylor girl.
You're a Taylor girl, all right.
Yes.
All right. We're going to make
Yes.
some enemies here today. It looks that way anyway.
That's okay.
And that will live.
We've all got them.
Okay, so you're a Taylor girl.
Yes, Taylor girl, and came to the Valley shortly thereafter, went to school, started working under one of the best family law attorneys, except we didn't call him family law, it was domestic relations. So I worked under a DR specialist in, it would have been 95 when we started. Anyway, so it's been that long that...
It's been a minute.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He took me to the law library, went to court with them, really kind of took me under his wing and took an interest in me and put an investment into me and my knowledge of domestic relations or family law. So it was, yeah.
So we're going to call it family law from here on out, but I like that, domestic relations. That's what it was when you started.
Sure.
And who knows what it's going to be in 15 years or 10 or 5 minutes.
Never
Who
know.
knows? Okay, so Taylor girl grows up both in Taylor and the Valley, correct?
Well, I graduated and came down here. So
Okay,
but
so you
yeah, I was
graduated
not
Taylor-
grown up for sure.
Okay, okay. All right. Fair
I'm
enough.
still working on it.
That's fair. So you go to high school in Taylor.
Snowflake. Taylor does not have a high school.
Can you have any more disdain on your face when you say the word snowflake?
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
If you go through there, you'll see. There's
Oh,
Taylor. You drive through Belly Button. It's a real town.
Yep,
And
no.
then you're in Snowflake.
Well, you blink, you miss Belly Button.
Yes. Yes.
It's a very forgettable Belly Button. No
Yes.
offense to anyone
Yes.
from Belly Button.
Right.
Is anyone from Belly Button?
Yes.
I reckon so. Okay. All right. Where's your dad from?
My dad grew up in that area as well. Yes.
So he's from
Yeah.
here too.
Yes, he's from here. My mom's grew up in Arizona, another small town in the White Mountains called Vernon.
Yeah, Vernon.
Yes.
That's why I'm asking you about him, because it's
Yes.
pretty cool.
Yes.
So your roots run pretty deep, Arizona.
I love Arizona.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'm proud of who we are and our history, especially the Western heritage and those people, the grit that came from them. And I think staying connected to those traditions and heritage is important. So, yeah, I'm proud to be from Arizona.
I like that. So you'd like to stay, the grit kind of went under the radar. You said the word grit. I love that word. So the grit that comes from hard work.
Sure. Yeah, hard work, I think, helps to develop that. But, I mean, let's be honest, life is a challenge. Life is full of trials. And I think if you don't have or acquire those characteristics or traits of being able to endure, then, I don't know. Where are you?
Yeah, it makes you tough going through, going forward, failing fast. Okay, I like that.
Right.
All right, so good old grit. It holds many a soul from Arizona together. It really does.
I think so.
Grit is underrated.
Yes.
So you didn't grow up west of Belly Button, dreaming of being a paralegal, I'm assuming.
No.
You've got quite a few things that you're fantastically wonderful at. Your hobbies are not just hobbies. There's a lifestyle.
Sure.
So we'll get into that. And I'm excited to dive into that one. But again, no little girl grows up and says, I want to be a paralegal when I grow up. I don't think so anyway.
Wasn't on my radar.
Okay. And so how did that happen?
A horse.
Okay, of course. Let's talk about said horse. What was the horse's name?
Well, this horse's name was Triple Margarita.
Okay.
And I called her Trip. She was a mare.
Okay.
A girl, female horse. We call them mares. And my dad bought me this horse when I was in high school. I high school rodeoed. And this horse took me through my high school rodeo season. And her owner that we had bought her from worked for the DR family law specialist that I started with. She was the connection that put me into this industry. But if you're asking what I grew up wanting to do, I wanted to be a professional barrel racer. I mean, I still do.
Right. And you still race.
Yes. Yes, I do.
And at a very high level.
I try.
She's very humble. All right. So that's interesting. I never knew that about you. I never knew that your horse, your rodeo horse in high school, is the reason why you got your first job in family law.
Sure. A lot of my blessings can be connected back to a horse.
Awesome. So what do you currently do for the Arizona firm? What is your calling in life? I mean, it's hard to name. We just had to order a bunch of business cards, and it was like, what do we put under Becky's name? It's like, what, like, do it all, resolve it.
Oh, come on.
MacGyver.
Okay. All right. Well, what it actually says on the card is managing paralegal, and yeah. I mean, I could sit here and list things that I do, my tasks that change from day to day, but that's boring. And really that's just kind of bullshit. What I do is I help people, and I do care about people. I've been through a divorce myself. I have 4 kids that I've raised pretty much on my own. Their dad is not involved, so I can really relate to a single parent or a single mom that is doing that job and understand her challenges and trials and things that come with that. And so really, at the end of the day, how I view myself is doing what I can to help people. And a lot of times that's just assisting the people around me to do their jobs. So yeah. That's kind of how I view myself in my role as a managing paralegal.
Well, the man that taught you in domestic relations, that was introduced to you by Trips, that awesome horse, yeah. A mare, female horse, has something down that is hard to put a finger on, but when you feel it, so when you're one of the Arizona firm clients, you feel this, because nobody looks at this as a job. It's interesting how you lead your team. You lead your team with that mindset. This is not a job. We're helping this individual who comes in kind of hot a little bit and a little bit emotional.
Sure.
Because they're either really mad at their ex and they want to, bring it down the thunder on them, or they're going through a divorce, which you know how that goes.
Right.
On a personal level, you didn't see that coming when you first met.
Right.
And when you first got into this industry.
Right.
So now we see it all the time, and it's a hard time for folks.
Yes. Yes, and I think it's important to remember that when we meet these people, that they are experiencing one of the hardest moments in their life. Like I if you were to ask me what was my hardest moment, I would say my divorce. And I've lost a child, but my divorce I kind of joke that it's a gift that keeps on giving, because you have kids, and so it doesn't stop when you sign the consent decree or you get your trial ruling. There's issues that keep coming.
So it doesn't stop when the divorce is over.
If you have kids, it doesn't. Right. Like, you're going to be revisiting these issues if it's child support or a modification of parenting time or legal decision making. Because call it custody anymore. Those three issues will continue to rise in family law cases. So these things just keep on going. And, my brightest shining moments probably weren't seen by who assisted me in my divorce. So we should keep that in mind when we're meeting these people, is that these are really, really hard times that they're going through, and it's our job. I mean, we have the competence and professionalism and experience to help them, but the other element of that is having the empathy and understanding what they're going through. Sometimes these clients come to us, and you're right, they're pissed, they're mad, they've been through hell, and it may be that, or it might be someone who's just beaten. They are beaten down and tired, and they don't know where to turn. And I can recognize that in someone, because I've recognized it in myself, and we all need somebody to boost us up at times. So there are those moments with those clients that we try to help in that way as well.
And it doesn't hurt that you usually duck this, but you've trained more lawyers than most lawyers I know.
Yeah, I like to duck that. I'm just here to help. That's it. I'm just here to help. They've been to law school, and there is respect that should be given to that. In the rodeo world, when I barrel race, I pay an entry fee. I pay my dues. And attorneys have done that. They have paid their dues. And I am what I am. And yes, I have many years of experience, but and I'm just happy to help out, whatever that is.
Well, the team that you have here benefits greatly from your 27 years? Are we looking at 25? What are we looking at?
Somewhere around there.
A minute, a skinny second. I mean, you still look like you just came out of belly button.
Yeah, thanks. I'm sitting there counting the years going, oh gosh, I'm old.
Well, I like the fact that the team moves, and you all seem to have your culture down, and that culture is that grit culture that you talk about. Yet it's on a dime, it turns into this protective, loving culture, and also in a way, and we've probably seen this in so many examples we can't even list them, but in a way we're advising, we're friends, we're kind of leading at times and listening at times, because they come in emotional.
Sure.
And the court doesn't care about that so much.
No.
And the rule books don't care about that so much.
No.
And so we need to kind of introduce, all right, we understand, kind of what you were saying before, that you've been there, that you've felt that feeling, and someone's boosted you up and helped you.
Well, I think people appreciate honesty.
Yeah.
And so as they're describing certain events or circumstances that they've been through, I can relate to them and am empathetic to the situation. But the court isn't always that way. So it is our jobs to decipher what we can use and talk about and what we can't.
Right. Well, it's not going to do any good.
Yeah, it's not going to do any good. And it's not just a waste of time, but it's a waste of those clients' resources. I mean, attorneys are expensive, so let's not, waste time on things that aren't going to help them reach their goals. So
I think I heard you say a while back, every dime that they pay us, they don't have for their kids, so we need to be on it.
Well, I think that's an element. We need to be good stewards of these people's money. So, right. I mean, at the end of the day, they are the driver in this seat. But, if we can help them to decipher what may be an outcome as a result of the position that we're taking, I think that, offering that honesty and saying that might not be a good road to go down, and, we don't have the evidence to support that. Or
how much does experience, as far as, and I'm asking you to kind of forget all things and just answer this question as though your life depended on it. How much does the experience you bring and the experience that your staff, your team brings to a circumstance, how much does that play into I'm going to call it the game plan, but it's probably a terrible way to put it, direction of representing this person from start to finish?
I think it counts for a lot. A lot. In fact, when I started working for that DR specialist back 30 years ago, I was very concerned that I needed some sort of paralegal certificate or whatever. And he kind of just smirked and laughed and said, the experience I'm going to give you is going to count for way more than that. And then he explained that when he's looking for someone, experience does count more than the paralegal certificate that they have. So I think that experience goes a long way. I mean, I have a lot of stories to tell after 30 years. I haven't seen it all, though. We still have scenarios that pop up like, I didn't see that one.
That's new.
Yes.
Yeah, it ain't the years, boys. It's the miles.
Right.
Yeah, so that experience does, go into, and our clients oftentimes get pretty attached.
Sure.
To you and your team. And sometimes they're calling for reasons, I'm assuming, that aren't really legally related, or they could easily be crying the blues to their sister after work type thing. Instead, they're calling. They did this, or the other side did this and this and this and that, and it gets kind of petty at times. What do you guys do when that happens?
Well, it's hard not to form connections with clients when these are very personal issues, and issues that is going to affect their future. So there's a lot of responsibility in that. And so, forming a connection with your clients, I think, is important. Having trust, certainly on their part, that they trust who they have involved with in the details of their personal lives is important. But going back to being a good steward of their money, we need to also help them decipher, what is worth being on the phone with their paralegal or their attorney and what's not, because, we are not qualified to be therapists. That's not what our experience is in.
But we oftentimes are, though.
And we can be empathetic to that, but at the end of the day, we're here in the legal industry helping them to reach those goals.
So more of the long haul. We're looking for the tomorrows.
Sure.
And so making sure that, okay, this hill's worth dying on, that one's not.
Right.
This one is, that one's not. Let's navigate this. And you found that they appreciate that approach, that honest, straightforward approach.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I like that. All right, back to horses now.
I can talk about that all day long.
Oh, there's no question. You just got off a great trip where you doing some rodeoing yourself, you and your daughter.
Yes.
You do competitive barrel racing.
Yes.
And how often a week do you do this competitive barrel racing?
Well, the goal is a couple times a week.
Yeah.
You got to stay in shape.
Yep.
The horse needs to stay in shape, and that's usually a couple times a week for you both to stay on top of it. So. Okay,
people think barrel racing, and that obviously females barrel race. Mm-hmm. It's a rodeo favorite.
Yes.
Pretty girls and fast horses.
Yep.
Not that I'm just saying. That's the coin. That's the phrase.
Okay.
Coin
Well,
phrase.
my wife's behind the camera there, so I'm not going to agree with you as fast as
Crowds
I normally
like it
would.
for those two things.
But honestly,
Fast cars, fast horses.
Fast horses, pretty chicks. Okay, I totally get that concept. And the rodeos had that down for a long time.
Yes.
I mean, they seem to be first
It
at the
sells
trough.
tickets. Yes.
So a couple times a week, but people think that's getting that horse up to that clip and cutting it like that around those barrels. Mm-hmm. Think, you guys make it look easy.
Sure.
But kind of walk me through somebody thinking that way, like maybe a brother or a cousin or somebody you've seen somewhere along the line.
Sure.
That took it like it was easy. How did it end up?
Well, we call them fence jockeys. Or couch quarterbacks.
Okay.
I guess if you were to compare it to something.
Yeah, fence jockey's good. Couch quarterback, like it.
So, if somebody's making it look easy, they're probably doing it right.
They're probably really good.
And there is a lot of work that goes into that to make it look like that. And I sometimes have a hard time with that, because just like respecting a lawyer who's gone and paid his dues, there was a lot of work that went into getting there. And anyone who's at the top of their game, their craft, or whatever it is that they're doing, I think you need to recognize that blood, sweat, and tears went into that to get them there, and respecting that.
Yeah. There's about 1,016 things you do just in the saddle alone that you're not even thinking of anymore.
Yeah, that become muscle memory or just routine. Yeah. Been doing it so long.
It's the way you move just a little bit, oh-so, and oh-so here, and oh-so there. Yeah. I mean, it's...
We call it a feel. There's a feel
yeah.
for it, and that's developed. You can't read that in a book and then apply it. It's developed over years of experience, and I think that can be applied in our office too. There's a feel for it.
Yeah. Yep. We know the system. We know the horse. We know the barrels. We know
the setup, the arena, the ground, what type of ground.
And that's what we provide to those that are gonna have to go through that for the first time.
Right.
So I remember when I first called you, and so we were ultimately going to get to this at some point.
Okay.
I paid my dues. Okay. So I went to the law school there and graduated in 02, 03. One of the two. Been a minute.
Right.
I apparently didn't celebrate hard enough, or I celebrated too hard. I don't know which it was. But here's what people don't understand is, we paid our dues. There's money involved there. There's payment that changed hands. And there's time, and there's nerve-wracking, bone-wracking.
Late nights.
Yeah, it's a rodeo.
Sure.
It's a rodeo. But you get done.
Develops grit.
It does that grit thing. All right, I like the way you pulled that back. All right, okay. All right, maybe you should do the podcast.
Sorry.
I think we should flip-flop, because that was a good move right there. I liked that. Yes, it does develop grit. Above all other things, I think that's why I jumped all over the word at the beginning, is that grit. Because the reality is, you get done, and you realize you're really good at taking a test or two, but you don't even know how to write your grandma's will that just asked you to write. Now that you're some fancy lawyer pants, you can write her will. Yeah. And my grandma, who ended up being my first employee.
I love that.
I know, she was awesome. Well, you met her. Anyway, she was so awesome. Rest her soul. She asked me to write her will, and I didn't know how to write a will.
No pressure.
Right? It's like, oh, okay. It's my favorite woman in the whole wide world, other than my mom, in case she's watching this, because grandma can curse from above and mom can curse from right up across the room. She's a good cursor. You'd be impressed by Rhonda. I didn't know how to write a will. I didn't know where to stand in court. I didn't know, anything, for real. And somebody that was very close to me really was struggling in a family law case. And somebody had given me your phone number and said, she knows more than any lawyer I've ever met, is how you were described to me. And it was from
that seems
it was
exaggerated.
from a fellow attorney that I respected. He'd been doing it for a lot longer than me. And so I reached out, and okay, here we are.
Yep, here we are.
Here we are. So obviously I was a little bit very impressed with not only your grit but the way you looked and went about your cases, the way you worked it, and the way you looked at it. Well, that's not going to work, and that's not going to work. This is practical. This is practical. This is practical. This is not. Leave that out. And it was like just business. This plugs into this. This plugs into this. This plugs into that. Wait, you didn't tell the client that? Well, I'm gonna. You need to be telling the client that. It was one of those nun moments where my knuckles were exposed, and you were not shy with rulers. And I really appreciated it so much that, like I said, here we are.
Yeah.
I really loved it. And it's like, wow. And I felt like there is nothing more noble that somebody could do with their bar card than practice family law or domestic relations or just family law nowadays. There's nothing more noble because you're meeting them, like you said earlier, you're meeting someone at their worst moment. And you've tragically lost a child. You've gone through a divorce. It's a different kind of tough.
Yes. Yes.
And oftentimes people think if there's children involved, which in your case there were,
Yes.
it's not till they're 18.
And even after, to be honest, I mean,
It's
you might
till
not
we
be...
take a dirt nap.
Yes. Yes.
And so that's what we're helping with.
Yes.
And it's kind of humbling when you put it in that context.
Yeah, it is. I think there's a responsibility there that, that shouldn't be taken lightly, you know?
Yeah. That's why I like the way you lead out with your team. It's that grit word that you came up with, right, that you just spit out right at the beginning.
Well, I think team is the key word myself, because it does take, all of us have roles and jobs. We know what they are. And there's crossover, and any one of us can step in and help and assist or do somebody's job if they're out or whatever. But it does take all of us to get done what needs to be done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite horse you've ever had? You're not cheating on the one current. Just what's the favorite one you've ever had?
It is my current horse.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Well, I would say that's good looking.
He's handsome.
A handsome
He's
devil.
handsome. Yes. For the Yellowstone fans, there's a ranch that's used in that show called the Four Sixes. And the Four Sixes is one of the biggest ranches in Texas. It's very well known. There's some of the nicest, fanciest horses are there, and studs. And his daddy came from there. His name was Boone Too Soon.
Boone Too Soon.
Boone Too Soon.
Boone Too Soon.
He's has lots of offspring that have high earnings. So that's who my horse's daddy was. So his name is Soon to Be Brilliant is his name. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so you and Soon.
Yeah, I kind of like that, because soon to be it kind of leaves it out there, like what are we becoming? What are we developing here? Soon to be, hopefully brilliant.
Yeah.
Hopefully we live up to the name.
It's awesome.
But he's got a personality that is he's a perfectionist and likes to please, likes to do it right. He does not cheat you. And horses, they do have their personalities a lot like people, and there are dishonest horses, and he's as honest as the day is long, and he'll do it the right way every day. So
It's interesting. Before we started in on this pod today, I said to you that horses oftentimes take on a lot of the same qualities as the rider.
yes.
Isn't that funny how that works?
Well, maybe we'll call it meant to be, because I think he came with those qualities.
It's
and,
possible.
And our personalities matched. And
It just so seemed.
There's a connection. There's a connection with horses. And when you get it right, success can be had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something special about horses, period, in the story. But those that are around them all the time, I love it. I love just the horse sense that comes from it.
Yes.
Because that doesn't matter. That matters.
Yes.
Your word matters.
Yes.
Honesty matters.
Yes.
Getting it done right the first time matters.
Yes.
Show me one task you do, I'll show you who you are.
Correct.
Show me your friends, I'll show you who you are.
Yes.
And we've got all these kids we're trying to teach these same lessons to, and
Correct.
exemplify those in our normal settings, our lives. And then also when you're cutting up with the rodeo, you've got that. I mean, there's a lot of hard work
Sure.
to make the fun.
Sure. Well, and you can judge somebody by how they perform. And we have that here. You know, the outcome of their case is not that we can control every element. Clients come with us with specific circumstances.
Right.
Specific to them.
Yeah.
And some of the things that have happened, we obviously didn't have control over that, you know. But the outcome is a reflection of who we are, what we've done. And you can compare that to the rodeo arena because it's a mirror of who you are. And if you want to expose yourself, get on a horse and go pay an entry fee and go expose yourself, and they will show you who you are. The dirt will show it. So the work that you've put into it, the knowledge that you have, the dues that you've paid to get to where you are, it comes out. And so if you want to compare that to the legal industry, I think we can.
I think you can. I think you just did. It was well done. So what's your favorite rodeo you've ever ridden in, and what's the latest rodeo you've ever ridden in?
Well, I have an 18-year-old daughter that competes in the National High School Association.
Which is a pretty daggum big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. They take the top 4 from each state to the National High School Finals. It's the biggest rodeo in the world, and she qualified again this year. So we went to Gillette, Wyoming over the summer, and she did very well there. But since we were in Wyoming, we went over to Cody. Cody is known as the rodeo capital of the world. So we spent 3 nights there, and I got to run barrels there for 3 nights, and their crowd is electric, and it's really fun. And you pick up on that energy, you know? Here we have culture, and I hope it feels good to everybody. We want it to feel good, and there the energy was intense, and I felt it. My horse felt it, and we went around, and that was really fun.
That's awesome. So that's just a few weeks ago.
Just a few weeks ago.
That's awesome. So we can look Becky Sherwood up on the line and see what she's doing every once in a blue moon, and see what the horses are telling us. If you were looking for this is a $64,000 question, and this is a question that I had to kind of face on a personal level at some point.
Sure.
But if you were in need, like you have been historically, of an attorney, family law, would you hire the Arizona firm?
Absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely, I would. Because I can trust that they have the experience, the expertise, and empathy to support whatever it is that they're dealing with.
It feels a lot better to walk through the office door when you feel that way.
Yes, confidence counts for a lot.
Because feeling that way makes you respect what you do.
Yes.
And so when I asked myself that question years and years and years ago, I didn't like the answer. This is many years ago, but I hadn't paid enough dues yet. Hadn't paid enough dues. And now, being kind of in your saddle, this management thing kind of is a little bit, it's a rodeo in and of itself, too.
I'm still paying my dues.
And we're paying our dues, and they're different now. It's kind of interesting, but it's fun when those folks that work with us in our teams, when they start rolling. I mean, how cool is that?
It's awesome. It's awesome. It's like winning a rodeo.
It really is. And you didn't even do it. And it's like, you want to spike the football, but they scored the touchdown.
Oh, well, we win and lose together, you know.
Right.
As a team, we win and lose together. Yeah.
But it's just nothing like somebody that you've really kind of brought along, like that original attorney that took a chance on you.
Yes.
Saw something in you. And with some time, with some elbow grease, with some effort, and you had some really long nights, really long days, really tough row to hoe.
Sure. He had very high expectations, and I'm not going to say it was a walk in the park. He was very hard on me, but I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, the people that are real and that put an investment into you, they will do that.
You don't want to let
And
them
then-
down.
Yeah, I didn't want to let him down, and I recognized him for who he was. He was somebody that you respected.
Yeah.
And so, when those guys open up their mouth, you listen,
Yeah.
even if it's not what you want to hear.
And sometimes that just so happens to be the case.
Right.
It's fun to be kind of like that individual sometimes. And because what I didn't see coming is how excited you get for your team and your part in that team, of course, but your team doing well.
Yes.
And the clients are the ultimate gauge. They're like, that's the barometer. And the clients are habitually like saying, man, they were so great here, or they did this here, or they did this here. And they're like reporting to you about this individual, your team. And there's just kind of a quiet, almost, I can't explain it.
Right.
But
Right.
it's so fulfilling. I love it.
Yeah, no, it feels good to do well. When you've worked hard and you've developed the processes and structure to be successful, yeah, it feels good to feel it come together. Not that we aren't always learning and growing, because we can always do better and learn from others. But yeah, when it comes together, it's good. We like to win.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
do.
I'm competitive. We like to win.
Yes, you are, and yes, we are, and I love it. For a girl that's east and west of belly button, I'm sure as heck glad I found you and that we're together this many years later.
We have developed a good relationship, and I appreciate and love that I'm connected to the Arizona firm.